Good morning, everybody. I hate to bring the chatter to an end, but I think an hour or so from now, you'll all thank me for forcing us to get started just after our regular starting time. There may still be a few of us making their way in, but welcome this morning. It's my privilege to serve as Superintendent President for College of the Sequoias. For those of you who I may not have met personally yet, my name is Stan Karasosa, Superintendent President with College of the Sequoias. Welcome this morning to our fall convocation. It's nice to feel the energy in the room. We're very excited about what we think is going to be a great year for College of the Sequoias. I'd like to start this morning honestly on kind of a somber note, but I think it's appropriate as we kick off this academic year to recognize that this last year was a really difficult and in many ways an unfortunately sad year for our College of the Sequoias team because we had the unfortunate passing of some of our team members. So if you would indulge me this morning in offering a moment of silence in memory of our recent team members who we have lost. Jason Foromoto, an adjunct instructor in Hanford, Frank Feliciano from our Tech Services Division, Terry Gray from our Video Technology Division, and Teresa Guariana from our Counseling Division. A moment of silence to commemorate them, please. Thank you. Now I'd also like to not forget to thank some important folks who have helped us set up for this morning. Nick Terry, Steve Lamar, Vanessa Lamb, those folks who have helped get the theater ready and the technology ready for this morning. I want to offer a special thank you to them. Please. I want to make sure that we thank our interpreters who are working diligently over here to make sure we all have access to the information. Thank you for being here this morning. I'd like to make some introductions of our special guests who are here. You know that we have a great College of the Sequoias Board of Trustees. They really are a living, breathing, thinking school board. They've provided, I believe, great leadership for us, and for me personally, tremendous amount of guidance and support. And we have some of our board members who are here to join with us this morning, and I'd just like to acknowledge them. We have our board president, Mr. Ken Nunez. Ken, thank you for being here. Vice President, John Zumwalt. John. And we have board members Lori Cardoza. Lori, thank you for being here. And board member Greg Sherman. Greg, thank you for being here. I want to offer just a general thank you and a shout out to Dean Byron Woods and the facilities and grounds and operations staff. Among the many of us who have been working hard all summer, if you're around the last 10 to 15 days before this event, you'll see quite a flurry of activity and lots of things happening. And people, especially as the temperatures are 104 outside and chillers are shutting on and off, and we're trying to make sure we're going to have air for the first day of school and all of that kind of stuff, in addition to just the hard work and the improvements in the facilities. But generally, for all of us who have been, including faculty who put time in summer school, for everybody who grinded this summer to make sure that we're ready for a great start of the school year, thank you and give yourself some recognition. All right, now we started a little tradition last year and we're going to continue it. If we could have just enough light right here in the front for me to make some introductions of a couple special guests. We have two groups of students with us this morning. These are our sophomore and freshman president scholars for College of the Sequoias, part of our new program. We introduced to them last year and talked to you a little bit about getting our President Scholars program started. Thank you to the College of the Sequoias Foundation for seeding the funding to provide these students with a full scholarship for their full 2 years at College of the Sequoias, some resources to help them purchase books, an opportunity for them to get all of their fees and passes and those expenses paid, a chance to get personalized services that help them matriculate and meet their matriculation goals, and then finally, and this is probably the best part, I'm sure they would tell you, regular meetings with the president, an opportunity to learn about the college and prepare for everything that they need to transfer. So I'd like our sophomore cohort to stand up first, and I'd like to introduce them quickly. From Redwood High School, Emma Billingsley. From Redwood High School, Jasmine Gilchrist. From CVC, Central Valley Christian, Tyler De La Garza. From Mount Whitney, Crystal Flores. From Exeter, Daryl Lumbres. From Tulare High School, Chandler Langley. And from Hanford West, Ryan Medina. Let's give them a round of applause. Just a few statistics. These guys cranked out, on an average, between 14 to 18 units per semester, 212 units completed in a composite collective GPA of 3.8. And now, no, that's Calvin's bit. Let's have our freshman class please stand up and allow me to introduce them. From Redwood High School, Jack O'Leary. I'll introduce all of them and then we'll clap. Wow, this is a great high school right here. From Dinuba High School, Lillian Sanchez. From Rossi High School, Katrina Arzate. From Exeter, Ennis Harris. From Mission Oak, Vanessa Aguilar. From Mount Whitney, Christy Velez. From Edison in Fresno, Ruben Parks. From Sierra Pacific in Hanford, Marcy Pearson. From Golden West, Aurora Chavez Peña. And from Mission Oak, Austin Malezo. Let's welcome our freshman class of President Scholars. Thank you, guys. Yeah, how fun is it for them, right, to have had the opportunity based on their academic performance. They were selected based on GPA, college eligibility, ranking in their class. These students could have went anywhere. And lucky for us, they chose to come to College of the Sequoias. So we're excited to have you guys. Thank you for being here. All right, let's start to work our way through our presentation this morning. That was the welcome and the introductions. And I want to make a quick reminder because I don't want to run out of time and forget at the end. But immediately following Convocation, and we're going to try to wrap up a little bit early in here, we do have a request from Costa that all Costa members, faculty, remain in the theater. So when Convocation is over, there will be a Costa meeting hosted here. At that same time, immediately following Convocation, Administrative Services staff will report for a kickoff meeting in John Muir 101. And Student Services will report in Ponderosa for a kickoff meeting. And then at 10 o'clock for faculty, there will be academic division meetings, and you'll be moving out to your divisions for those meetings as well. All right, so I alluded to the fact that it's a pretty good time to be in community college in California right now for a lot of reasons. There's a better budget than there has been in a number of years. We are being called on statewide as an institution to be the centerpiece of job preparation and economic development for our nation, and especially for the state of California. But then more locally here, I just think it's a great time to be a part of College of the Sequoias. For the first time in a number of years, we're not standing up here at Fall Convocation trying to explain a difficult budget. We're not standing up here somewhere in the interval cycles explaining responses to accreditation. In the scope of our world, this year we actually have like a minute to pause and just talk about the good work that we do and reflect a little bit on the students that we teach and how we can do a better job at all of these things that are demanding of us. But to illustrate just a little bit of kind of this happy and I think excited and positive spirit, I want to take us on a quick little story journey here.
Groovy. Sunday afternoon.
Okay, I'm doing the rehearsal yesterday, right? And Lamar's out there, Steve, and he says, I was sure you were going to have that bird drop on the giant's head. So to illustrate our good feeling, and that little phrase up there, can't stop the feeling, if you listen to pop music at all, you'll know that there's a song out this summer, cut by JT, right? Can't Stop the Feeling. And it's a great summer anthem. Every once in a while, an artist comes along, cuts a song in the summer, and they hope that everybody's going to be playing it at every barbecue and every party and every dance. And this is certainly that song for the year. And the theme of the song really is just about feeling good about what I do and celebrating it with song and with dance and being happy in the role that I play. And I think we have that feeling and that spirit at College of the Sequoias. It manifests itself in all kinds of ways across our district. Certainly we work hard and we don't always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, when you have a 97% student satisfaction rate, that tells you that regardless of what we're wrangling with as adults, the image that we portray and the services and the relationships that we build with our students have to be good, because you just can't have that kind of success if they're not. So this morning I wanted to dwell for just a minute. You guys know me, you know I got to do a little something at the start of every convocation. And this is about illustrating the spirit of College of the Sequoias. And I'm going to select one of our very own classified employees to tell you a little story about how this spirit comes to life and has come to life over the last 4 years for me. When I first arrived at College of the Sequoias, you know, the president has the opportunity to park in that little spot on the Circle Drive, and I would pull up in the mornings. And I always, even before I came to work here, was so impressed with our curbside appeal, how the front of the campus looks, always groomed so nice, fresh roses, seasonal flowers. And so as I noticed driving in and out every day and starting to park for work, I saw our groundsman out there. And so I walked out one day to just introduce myself, and I had the pleasure of meeting Theo Solis. And Theo, as you know, is our groundsman, and he takes care of the front of the college. And so it was the beginning of what's turned out to be a really fun friendship and a really nice relationship. We almost have a ritual now where at least once a week as I pull in, he'll make sure that he's around about the same time, because we normally get here about the same time. And we'll take the opportunity to exchange some pleasantries. We talk a little bit about our similarities in growing up in the Hispanic culture. We talk a little bit about traditions in our families. We talk a little bit about our kids. We talk a little bit about taking care of the grounds. And then as you get to know Theo, if you do get to know him, he's not shy either about giving you his opinions. And so he's become unofficial counsel on how best to lead the college. And I have to tell you that he can share some very meaningful things. And so we've just enjoyed a really nice friendship. And you know the old saying, imitation is the greatest form of flattering. I talked with Theo before Convocation today, and I said, look, I'm going to share a story about you, and I'm going to do my very best to do a little Theo impersonation. Are you okay with that? And he said, sure. He said, but please don't make me come down on stage. I said, okay, all right. I will leave you up there. So here's kind of an illustration, because the thing that he consistently shares with me that I think we all enjoy here, but he and I have had enough of a relationship for him to actually share, is how much he loves his job here and how grateful he is for that job, and how much pride he takes in the work that he does. And those things all, of course, make all of us feel really good. So earlier this spring, when I lost my way for a moment, and I was exploring the possibility of a chancellorship down in Southern California, I had to put that information out to all of you. I feel like it's important to be open and honest. I shared what was going on and what the timelines were. But I have to, and that's always a hard thing to do because you're working alongside people and it's just kind of awkward. But I have to tell you, one of the worst things I was dreading was pulling up the morning after I put out that e-news and finding Theo. And he didn't let me down. So I'm going to do my Theo impersonation of that exchange when I pulled up that morning, and he called me out a little bit on that e-news that went out, okay? So I pull up in my car, And I'm getting out, and I see him up over the rise, working on the curb on Mooney Boulevard side, and he's coming up over where the giant is right there. And I tried for a minute to act like I didn't see him out of my peripheral vision. That didn't work either. He's coming up over the rise. President Carrizosa! President Carrizosa! And so I'm there, and I'm like, okay, I got it. See, he walks up to me, and I knew, we both knew. We knew what the exchange was going to be. And he comes up, and he gets right up to me, and he looks at me, and he pulls his glasses down, and he goes, "What the hell is going on?" "I read your email. You going to leave us?" I said, "No, Teo, it's not like that." I said, these processes, sometimes to ask the key questions you need to make a decision, you actually have to get into the process. They're not going to tell you the things you want to know unless you're willing to get into "I don't want another precedent. We already have too many precedents. You're doing a good job. You need to stay. I don't want another precedent." I said, "Well, look, nothing's for sure. It's a process. I needed to keep you all informed." He said, "Well, I'm just going to tell you. If you leave, I'm going to apply for your job." He said, "I don't want no more presidents. I'm going to get the job." And I said, "Oh, Teo, I will keep you informed. I promise. Please, just let's be patient." So you guys know how the story went. Time goes by. A few weeks later, I put out the e-news. "Hey, gang, I hope you're not disappointed, but I'm going to stay. Here's what happened." When I looked at what the right things were for me at my career at this time and what I wanted to do to kind of finish being a leader in education, I felt like the right place for me to do that was College of the Sequoias. And so now I'm excited. Now I'm like, I can't wait to drive into the Circle Drive and find Teo after that e-news. So sure enough, I pull in, I drive, and he's fair, so he was there on that day too. And he's coming up over the rise again. And I see him, and I get out of the car, and here he is coming up over the, "President Carrizosa! President Carrizosa, vente!" So I come over, and I'm waiting, I'm going to get it. I'm like, all right, here comes my stroke. He goes, "You decided you're going to stay." I said, "Yes, I'm going to stay, Teo." He goes, "That's good. I'm so happy." He said, "You do a good job here." And then he paused for a minute, and he goes, "Oh, wait. I know what happened. You scared, huh? You scared I'm going to get your job." So, Teo, the position of president isn't open right now. When it does, you're welcome to apply for it. But in the meantime, I'm going to be presenting you with an honorary President Scholars shirt. Okay. Okay, here we go. So if you were a part of a group of us last spring, we got together and a group of faculty decided to read a book together. And I thought it would be a great way to frame this morning's convocation. Because when you look at the title, this is Tom Bailey, and he's got some co-authors there, but Redesigning America's Community Colleges has been a great opportunity for a group of us to read and talk about, trade emails. We've blogged back and forth. Some folks have faithfully met for some brown bag lunch meetings, and we really kind of made our way through this body of research and the kinds of things that are happening now in community colleges to improve our outcomes. And for all of us, what was really nice is that many of the things that we've embarked on to make positive changes have been validated in this research. The opportunity to start to reorganize time a little bit and how courses are paced and whether or not they're condensed or elongated. The opportunity to take remedial courses and accelerate them by collapsing them, kind of our English 261 model, where we accelerate the learning between what were 2 remedial classes to accomplish that in 1. To do special outreach for high school students, to provide wraparound services for students like we're doing in our Student Success Plan, to provide an opportunity for writing center, math lab, expanding those services. And then finally, embedding basic skills, going into our career technical education and some of our more non-academic courses, and taking some of those essential basic skills and embedding them into that curriculum as well. So we got validated a lot, and it's been a wonderful book read. It provides us then an opportunity to frame this morning's conversation. And one of the pieces of research that Bailey shared a lot in here was about the changing characteristics of our student learners. So I thought it would be fun this morning and we've done a lot of this already, but I thought it would be fun this morning to talk a little bit about the millennials. If you haven't seen this movie, The Intern, it's a great little Hollywood version of this generation gap between, a baby boomer and working alongside some millennials as an older gentleman goes into a new young company and he's serving alongside these guys as an intern. But the comparisons, what goes on between them is hilarious, and it's perfectly aligned with the research. So we've talked about millennials before, but let's take a look at really who they are. Let's take a look at what the research says about this generation. Roughly from 1980 to 2000, some researchers spread that out a little bit. In 2013, they were 30% of the adult population in our country. Today, they're 50%. It's the fastest growing generation. 80 million millennials. You can see out there on the edge about $600 billion in spending power, projected to be about $1.4 trillion consumer spending by 2020. Some of their characteristics: they're a very diverse generation. They're more educated than prior generations. They're very, very technology savvy. I mean, really, for this generation, technology for them is like breathing. These young people really aren't even millennials. These are probably now our Generation Z. They were born after 2004, many of them. So technology is just like breathing, and we know that. And so if you think about the incoming freshmen at College of the Sequoias today, when they started kindergarten, their after-school starter pack looked like this. Okay, now we look at some of those things now and we go, God, that's such old technology. But how fast it's changing, right? This is the generation that's never lived a day in their life without the internet, without push-button automation, without smartphones. See that razor right there? I think Dr. Artecho still has one. No, wait. Robert, yours is a Nokia. That's right, that's right. But they've never lived a day in their life without this kind of access. The story I think of when I think about this generation of students is one were my own children. They were like 11 and 9 years old. We left them at home one day for about an hour because we were part of this helicopter parent generation. But my wife had to go somewhere and I hadn't come home from work yet. And when I got there, both the kids were upset, shook up, mad. They hit me right away, said, Dad, we're so angry. We haven't been able to watch TV all day. I said, well, why not? We lost the remote. We looked everywhere. We looked under the couch. We thought you took it in your bedroom. We know where you hide it in the closet. And they did all that. And then I went, you guys, we'll find the remote, but watch this. We walked over to the TV. We hit that little spring door and it opened and there was a button there. I turned it on. They were like, whoa. It turns on right there? My goodness. All right, so just to compare, right? Here's the after-school starter pack when I went to kindergarten. Now, those of you clapping, you remember the taste of that white paste, huh? Yeah, and as a society, tell me, what were we thinking with candy cigarettes? What? And I have to tell you, we didn't worry about remote control for our television. We didn't have a remote. We didn't even have cable. Remember the rabbit ears? Yeah, well, those were an upgrade. In my house, it was the pole, big long pole, out the side of the window, and at the top of it, not an antenna, the wire grill off the smoky barbecue, right? Flipped up and wired to that thing. We'd be getting one of the 3 channels, and on a winter day, I'd have to go out and turn the antenna. We're watching a football game. Stan, you're the youngest. Go turn the antenna. So I'm listening through the window. I'm turn to, they go, stop, right there, right there. I go, all right. I let go. No, put your hand back up. So I'm like, yeah, stay there. I go, no, I'm not staying out here to hold the antenna. They haven't lived a day in their lives without the technology. All right, let's look at their characteristics in general. And I know this is hard to see from out there, but let me just point out a couple of things. This is that sheltered generation. And as we touch on these things, let's think about the implications for us as instructors and the services we provide students. Let's think about how we have to reach them and connect and engage with them. They were a protected class, for sure. They had parents who were parents who are very sheltering. And it's well-intentioned. They want to avoid the students. They want to spare them from unpleasant experiences. Okay? They're a confident generation. They're motivated. They're goal-oriented. They expect that college is going to help launch them to greatness, because that's what we've told them all through their upbringing and their schooling. They have high levels of optimism. Remember, this is the generation we said you can be and do anything. You can go anywhere. And that's true. It's all well-intentioned work. Think about this. They're very team-oriented. They've grown up in a K-12 system that's been pretty group-oriented. They work in pairs, in pair square, in hand-up, stand-up, pair-up. They do quiz, trade. They have a variety of interactive, engaging learning strategies which from a very young age have forced them to interact with the content cognitively different than just listening, different than just auditory, and even different than just visual. And we know what the brain research says: auditory learners, visual learners, kinesthetic learners, and there needs to be a variety. That doesn't necessarily change as we get older, especially in a generation that's been immersed in technology and interactive collaborative strategies. So it paused, when we were doing the book read, it caused us to stop and think about what are our primary modes of engagement with our students. They're very achieving. They set high standards for themselves. They've focused a lot on grades. Again, college is to get a high-paying job. They have been under some pressure. Those helicopter parents are pretty intense. They might struggle a little bit with time management. With all of this information coming at them, they think multitasking is a way to operate efficiently. It's also diagnosed as attention deficit disorder, okay? It's a lot of quick change all the time, but that's very much how they interact and process information. Conventionally, they're very respectful. They're a generation that believes in causes. They're ecologically aware. They want to do good things. They have a great volunteer spirit. Their volunteerism, as they're moving now into their 30s, is off the charts as a generation and a population. I think this is the one that's the most interesting to me. Because of how we've praised them, they really do believe they're special. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing if we can capitalize on it. But in terms of us working and teaching with them, they've had praise from the adults that they admire in their life. That's important to them. And if you're a baby boomer like me, you may not recognize the need that people have for that. We didn't have that need, per se. But we may not recognize the need that our young people have for that. And because they've had that socialization and that opportunity to be around adult conversations, they want to be close to their faculty. They believe something, but not just because we tell them. They need the rationale. They need to understand the explanation behind it. And they like that dialogue and that exchange. So it's an interesting set of characteristics for us to pay attention to as we think about our learning. And here they are as actual learners, and this is just a quick recap. They need information to be relevant so they can connect it to something in their world. They are a more relaxed group. They like to informally interact with teachers and one another. Research-based methods. They prefer a variety of active learning methods. And so the learning strategies we know that are effective, there's such a variety of them now. It's important that we think about that variety and that we recognize in any one group like this, if all I did was talk and we didn't have anything to look at or any other reflection, we'd be getting about 1/3 of the audience at any one time because people move in and out of auditory exchange like that. Diversity, they're very collaborative, as we mentioned. Ideal learning environment for them, less lecture, more multimedia, more collaboration with peers. That's what the research is telling us about our 20-somethings. Okay, so as we drill down a little bit on that, Chapter 3 in Bailey's research was about rethinking student instruction, and they talked about this, this debate between knowledge transmission and learning facilitation. Knowledge transmission being what I'm doing now, and learning facilitation being a little bit different than that. Cognitive questioning, a variety of strategies, facilitating discovery rather than transmitting knowledge and information. Jeff Nevid did a body of research on teaching the millennials that we thought was really interesting because he actually went directly into what start first with what the physical structure of our learning environment looks like. And so this is a typical college class in the 1960s. Just want you to take a look at the physical layout. This was actually kind of an innovative classroom because of the multiple sliding boards. This is that college classroom in the 1980s. This is a typical college classroom today. So what do we recognize from that? There's some definite similarities, right? There's kind of the organization of the furniture. There's the expectation in a setting like this where you've got desks in rows, what's inherent in that a little bit is there's going to be one source of information and multiple receptors. And that's what Bailey talks about in the research. We want to talk about mixing that up a little bit because of the audience we have. Makes a great quote in the book, says we're not doing a bad job as instructors, we're doing the same job, the audience has changed. So how do we adjust to be able to tap into their engagement? Have you ever wondered where we even, as an education, as an institution, where we even got this idea originally in organizing? When we started the Industrial Revolution in our country, we needed about 16% of our students. As we were building secondary education, we were coming out of K-8 schools into high schools. We needed about 16% of our educated high school population to go into white-collar jobs. The remaining percentage, over 70% of the population, was going to go directly into factory-level work. Take a look at that. So all of a sudden we have a little bit of an understanding now of, oh, okay, in the early years, at the turn of the century, when we were expanding into higher education, we organized classrooms to align with demand in industry. This was an early factory in the 1940s, and it makes sense. It was the right thing to do. But we do have a different changing environment right now. I did a fact check on this. I don't have it on official authority, but at least unofficially I've been notified that that right there is a young Ken Nunes. Okay, so what if we're going to take this idea of education preparing for interaction in the workplace and an economic driver for the economy, what do workplaces look like today? This is a company called WeWork. I was interested to read a little more about them. Many of you already know WeWork, but what WeWork does is they provide space. They're a company that does nothing but provide space. Space for digital companies. So if I have a laptop-based virtual company, I don't have to have the overhead of an office, work desks, Wi-Fi, copy machines, scanners, materials. I can subscribe to WeWork, and they have facilities like this stationed geographically around the state. And as long as I have a subscription, I can roll in. I'm an internet-based company. I don't have the overhead of maintaining all those facilities. I just drop in because I show them my card. It's like going to 24-hour fitness. Only I'm going to roll in. And this is, I thought when I first pulled this picture up, it was a restaurant. There's some booths back there, right? This is the workspace. And I thought, oh, this must be their break room. No, these are the offices. So it mirrors that interactive environment that Bailey talks about in the research. This is another peek at Square. Square is a digital commerce company. This is their San Francisco office. Again, you can see the interactive layout of the environment. The thing that's unique here is they've blurred all the lines between their divisions. They have designers and engineers working at the same desk on the project from the beginning. So that collaboration that's required is built in here as well. This next one is Design Public Ink. Yeah, I felt better when I pulled up this because there's a whiteboard. I thought, okay, we have some similarity there. What I don't want after Convocation is I don't want to see purchase order requests for boats and beanbags. But the idea that's represented here is that today's millennials, we used to have, I'm a baby boomer. We had work and then we had play. And they were separate. And we kept them balanced, or we tried to. But today's work environment, they're integrated, right? There's really a blur between the lines now of work and relaxation, work and fun, work and stress relief. They're integrated. And then the gold standard, of course, is Google, and many of us have toured a Google facility at one time or another. For me, I felt like I was walking through an amusement park. It's a lot of elaborate stuff. This isn't a field trip. This isn't a tour. See their little name cards? These are employees. This is their office. This is how they interact, work, solve problems. They've got their technology out. So if we're going to go to that idea that we mirror, or should try to mirror, what we're producing for the workplace, it has implications for us in terms of how we put together our instruction. And I get, some of us are sitting out there saying right now, yeah, but our students don't go to work in those companies. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And even if they don't, if they go to Joanne Fabric right here in the Visalia Economic Development Park, the industrial park, and you walk in to their center, it looks millennial. So we do have this environment even here in our area. So another symbol, I guess, a long-standing symbol of higher education, of course, if you were to ask, close your eyes and envision something that makes you think of higher education, you're probably going to come up with this format, this lecture hall. And it's a wonderful format. How many years has it served us? And we still have, I believe, one of the greatest educational systems in the world. But this is that lecture hall in the 1950s, and this is that lecture hall today. And we get it. It has to be there. Numbers drive that. The amount of information we need to share drives that. But what the research tells us is let's at least begin to think about that concept of variety. And if nothing else, let's do like we're doing today. Let's incorporate video. Let's incorporate imagery. But even if we can go beyond that, let's try to. Because here's what the data in Bailey's research told us. Move beyond the pastor rule. If you've ever talked with a pastor or a preacher, they're going to tell you that when they're preparing their sermon for Sunday, if you talk more than 20 minutes, you're going to be talking to yourself. Well, today's research with our millennials has that 20-minute time frame down to 10. It's 10-minute intervals at which some sort of visual, auditory, media interactive change needs to occur for their cognitive connection to be optimal. So a way to do that in our big settings where we're working with masses of students is to try to integrate the technology. And there are some good examples of how this is happening, not only on our campus, but across the community college system. So if we take a look at just a handful of the opportunities we have, I thought about doing a little quiz, but I knew that the only one I would get right might be that one, and maybe the GoPro video. But these are a lot of tools that many of us already use. And what they do is they give us an opportunity with multiple students in a classroom to be able to not only diversify the delivery of information, but to personally engage individual students. For me, that's always been the hardest part about large group instruction, is to be able to know somehow that I'm reaching students. And what this does is it allows that individualized engagement and checking for understanding on an individualized student basis. Things like Plickers, which is a way of providing feedback, multiple responses by using an electronic device. Visibo, the same thing. We've all sat in a workshop or a conference now where they tell you, take out your cell phone, okay, go to the internet, log on to this website. Oh, there's our interactive link. Now, we're going to put a question on the screen. As soon as we put the question up, pick an answer, 1, 2, 3, or 4. You hit your phone 1, 2, 3, or 4, your answers start showing up on a bar graph right on the screen. And not only do you have an opportunity to talk about what everybody's reflecting on, but you as an instructor have a chance to see if they're getting it. And they're doing it individually, and it's interactive, which is what these guys would tell you they like, okay? So this is a group of med students, and I wanted to give you at least one community college example of some of this stuff. This isn't the group, but it's a group of medical students, and what they're doing, I shared this a little bit last year, what they're doing is a project called Community for Academic Progress. And this is a group of instructors who have gotten together with faculty and staff, and they've said, let's look at these different learning strategies. And they started by studying pre-med students and what they were doing when they were cohorting themselves. So they researched them, and they found out how they were dividing up work. What kind of questioning strategies were they using? What kind of internet-based research were they using? How were they incorporating YouTube research, podcast research? How are they collecting information, processing it, and then building cognitive understanding to be able to respond to their expectations? What they did then as a group of faculty is they put those into packages. And they said, okay, I've got these many days that I'm going to be able to teach during the semester. I'm going to spend the first 3 of my class meetings not delving into my content, but deliberately teaching my students how to learn through these strategies. So they spent time actually teaching learning. And they taught them how to cohort. Did some personality surveys and inventories, got them grouped into groups. This is going to be your study group for the first semester. They talked to them about podcast, YouTube, research, how to collect information. And then instead of coming back to lecture, they came back with questions. And the questions were then to be researched. And what happened in the next class setting is students started providing responses based on the research they had done. And it was constructivist in the sense that they built the content over the course of the class, but it had to be facilitated and guided by the instructors to make sure all the right stuff was covered. So yeah, it's a little bit more work, and it's a different style. And I don't think you jump right into all of that, but I think there's an opportunity for us to look at pieces of that we can start to incorporate to diversify our engagement strategies with our students. Okay, so you know, there's millennials everywhere. I was chatting with someone as they were coming in. Said, oh, I think it was Lisa. Lisa came up and we were talking, and I said, these are our president's scholars. And I said, over there is Vanessa Lamb. She's our new hire that's in our videographer. She's a millennial. And Lisa says, I know, there's all these young people around. What's with this? You know when you're around millennials for a variety of reasons. A lot of it is their technology, and they're kind of hipster, and they have a personality, and it's all good stuff. When I first got to COS, I was so excited because I went into my office and there was this 13-inch computer monitor. And I hadn't seen that big horizontal monitor before. And I thought, that's really cool. It was also a really tough budget time, right? So the last thing a president does is buy anything new for themselves. So I used the computer that Brent had, the desk that Brent had. I sat in the chair that Brent had, like I'm up to here at the desk. But I didn't get anything new. But then I started walking around my office, and little by little I saw like people with 2 screens. And I'm like, oh, that is slick. You can get a lot of work done with a second screen. You know, how do you get one of those? So, well, you ask Brent, he got me a second screen. But you know a millennial's desk when it kind of looks like that. Jordan Lamb is hiding right now. Because I walk by every day and give him a bad time. I go, hey, Jordan, okay, first of all, there's regular keyboard and then turbo keyboard. 10-key punch. Let's lay our phone down. Let's slap some earbuds in. This is a space-age purple gel foam wrist rester, color-coordinated coffee and mouse pad. I'm like, I said, hey, Jordan, book me a flight to San Diego. I have to, fun stuff. You also know when this is the chair they order. Right? I walk in the office, I'm like, Lauren, what is that? No, this is I ordered that chair for my desk. I'm going, I've seen that before. The ones I saw, they had a handle on them though. And we did the, remember that rabbit face? Remember? Are you kidding me? It's ergonomically good though. I hear it tightens your core. All right. So here's what we want to do. As we think about these millennials, this is Dr. Fleming. Kevin Fleming is a dean at Citrus Community College, and he's done a pretty neat job of putting together a body of research about success in the new economy. And some of you are going to be familiar with this, and hopefully for some of you, it will be interesting information. But what he's done is he's done the economic research to justify why community colleges are the single most important layer of our educational system as we prepare students for success in the new economy. So indulge us for a moment. Let's take a peek at Dr. Fleming's video. Okay, so a couple of takeaways from Dr. Fleming's research. He cited the Harvard University study. I think it's pretty clear when he talked about the size of the overall economic pie and workforce may be larger, but the proportions will remain the same. So we are playing a key role because we serve every one of these sectors right here, but we also focus a lot of our time and energy on those technical, certificate, and two-year degree-driven jobs, which I think speak well for the role that community colleges are going to play in our future. This is a statistic to make sure we pay attention to and consider this in terms of how we guide, support, counsel, and direct our students. Just a shout out for a new tool on our website. This COS Career Coach is exactly that tool that Dr. Fleming talked about, where you can do that career exploration as a student. You can look at what the trends in the jobs are. You can identify what the skills are there that are needed and what kind of a certificate you may need to succeed there. So we're putting ourselves in center stage for the next 5 to 10 years as a community college to be able to serve the developmental needs of our workforce. To do that, we've been working really hard to localize this combination of statewide initiatives. I think we're all familiar now with the Student Success Act. It brought us the Student Success Scorecard. That was followed then by some restricted funding that started to come from the Chancellor's office that asked us to develop plans to close the achievement gap for students and to promote student success. The Chancellor's office then set up a support system through the Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative to make sure that community colleges could help each other achieve in these areas. And then most recently now, we have the Strong Workforce Act, and that reflects what Dr. Fleming's research said there. I was at a meeting a week ago Monday where we were learning as CEOs how community colleges were going to spend $200 million on career technical education training for certifications and licenses. So I think the important thing for us to remember, to not get overwhelmed, is that we work at this all in one way, through the objectives that we set in our strategic plan. So we have our systems in place now. Our COS 2.0 machinery is churning along. We've got integrated planning. We've got governance structures. We've got objectives that are aligned with these initiatives. So really, we're on a great path to continue to fulfill our mission. We shared last year kind of the big themes in our master plan: growth, student success, equity, and sustainability. And they're reflected now in our strategic plan objectives. To attack the issue of growth, we started down this path of reaching out to our high schools to try to embed community college courses in our high schools that would allow high school seniors to be able to knock out some prerequisites as part of their senior year instruction. A number of our students come to us below college level in English and math, so we've been targeting English classes in high schools so that when students come to us from high school, they've taken our English 251. They've even taken our English 1, and they're ready to move beyond those prerequisites. It helps them accelerate. It gives them credit in both their high school and for us as college. And this year we'll open the fall semester in 10 of our feeder high schools with over 500 high school seniors taking COS classes embedded into their senior year. What's this doing for our enrollment? This is Giant Days when we bring all of our students in to do orientation in the spring. You can see a little bit what the numbers look like as we continue to grow. In 2015, we brought in almost 1,250 students, and this last spring we brought in over 1,500 students. So in any of our metrics, if we're making a 26% gain, we're feeling like we're doing something right. We're a three-campus college now, and overall our student enrollment was, unduplicated count, was over 15,000, which is inching back up to our high water mark. And a really nice piece of news that we're celebrating is that the Hanford Educational Center achieved their 1,000 FTES. Thank you to Dr. Robinson and the staff and the support staff and student services and our students. And that was a year earlier than we had actually anticipated. So that's a great accomplishment for us. And then just to keep pace, 18 new faculty again this year, 37 new faculty in the last 2 years. We're getting some of the initial data back now on our student success planned actions. You remember our student equity plan, at the center of that are our student success coordinators, those extra staff folks who are hired to be kind of an educational personal assistant to our students. They manage a caseload of them. They monitor them throughout the process. We're starting to show some great results. In their first year, that cadre of student success coordinators made over 8,000 contacts. And our overall, clap for them. Our overall average GPA for all students in 2015-16 was 2.34. For the students who were in our student success program and accessed some portion of those success services, they had an average GPA of 2.6. And for the students who completed everything in their compact, they had a GPA of 2.8. That's pretty good stuff. To speak to the issue of this technical training, we have long-standing tradition in a number of great areas, but you can just see here a sampling, and this is just a small sampling of how we reach out and try to fill those 2-year technical training or certification jobs. A couple of highlights to just go along with these statistics. This summer, when we graduated our last cohort of police officers, there were about 45 in the class. And that evening, when they were getting their certificate for completing the academy, 27 of them were getting a badge pinned on them because they were employed by law enforcement agencies in our region. The other thing that's really fun to celebrate, Dr. Shingle shared with us that our 25 physical therapy assistants this year who went on to take their board certification exams had a board testing pass rate of 100%. And they all got jobs. Our intercollegiate athletic program continues to be one of those areas that builds success. We all know that there's a lot of things you can teach on the field, on the court, in the gym that you can't necessarily accomplish in an instructional classroom setting. We take our intercollegiate athletes and their success very seriously. Last year we had a nice cluster of championships. But here's a really exciting statistic. We look at all of our sophomore athletes every year, and we track how many of them out of the total number of sophomore athletes complete graduation. And from 2014 to 2016, we went from about a 60% completion rate to over 80% of our athletes graduating. A little highlight, just if you haven't heard or didn't know, this young lady right here in 2015 was a student here at COS. She ran for us on our track team and won the state championship in the 200 meters. Her name is Deja Stevens. We got a chance to see her. She was here for 3 semesters. She's a great example, a great story of what we do at community college. She came here from out of our area. She didn't have a real direction. She wanted to get herself grounded both academically and athletically. She completed everything she needed to do in 3 semesters with College of the Sequoias to be able to transfer. Number one, she was NC2A eligible and then received a scholarship and was able to transfer to the University of Oregon. She ran there last year as a sophomore. Now, this is the year of the Summer Olympics, and if you happen to notice earlier in July, when at the University of Oregon they were holding the Olympic trials, we all dialed in, those of us who knew we were there, and we're excited to report to you that she's in Rio de Janeiro now, one of the 3 women running for a gold medal in the 200 meters from College of the Sequoias. All right, so over 1,500 degrees and certificates we issued last year, and a record high, I think this is a cool statistic, you guys, a record high 470 students chose to participate in their College of the Sequoias commencement ceremony. Community college graduation ceremonies aren't always the top choice. Lots of folks are ready to step on. They see it as an interim activity. They want to get to their four-year degree. What this tells me is how connected our students are to us. And I think that's a direct reflection, of course, on all of you. One more piece of news real quick, smelling the roses or smelling the sequoias. You may have heard that we're entering into a new partnership with Fresno State. We're really excited about it after what seems like forever trying to get Fresno State to expand their presence here. We're going to be able to enter into a renewed partnership with them that's going to bring them to College of the Sequoias Visalia campus. And they're going to embed a Fresno State Visalia campus here, and they're going to not only expand the offerings that they're currently offering, but they're also going to build the capacity to take the students who are coming from here and what their most frequent needs are at Fresno State and offer Fresno State four-year degrees here. So that's a great accomplishment for us. And I think it's certainly worth mentioning that we're having really what I think are one of the best periods of time now for labor relations and opportunities to work together with all of our employee groups. We have a new group of CASAFA faculty that we're enjoying getting to know this year in negotiations. We've got our tentative agreement already ratified with CSEA, and we're getting off to a great start there. We've got great progress that we made with Costa this year, and I know faculty will be meeting right now after this. So we're just really excited about kind of a positive upswing in all corners of our district. So I want to give you a quick reminder. This is where we are right after we break here in a minute. And Costa members can remain here in the theater. Everybody else carefully make our way out. And we want to close today with one last little video, kind of in the spirit of the millennials, right? And I think I don't really need to say anything about this video. I think it will explain itself when you see it based on what we've shared here today. All right, let's have a great 2016-17. Thank you so much.